What's up, everyone? You boy here. It's been a hot minute since I uploaded last, and that's because I've been busy with a new job I got hired for not that long ago. And it has me working overnights, so posting new content is a little more difficult for me. But, anyways, let's get right into today's topic. It is going to be the newest update that will be coming tomorrow by the time this video is released. We're going to be mainly elaborating on the new creature that is going to be introduced. Excuse me. The new affliction mechanic, the battle behavior for moves and stuff. And if you're confused on what that means, I'll elaborate a little later on in the video. The new abilities, genetic enhancements. Now, genetic enhancements are a big one I'm going to be talking about because that is going to be a very interesting topic and may also be very controversial because, again, I'll elaborate a little later. It's definitely an interesting mechanic to say the least. The new raid boss, I don't want to elaborate too much on. It's going to be the Pyratator. Whether it's Pyratator Gen 2 or Pyratator Gen 1, I'm not too sure. I imagine it's Gen 1, the epic one, because they don't elaborate. They just say Pyratator. But, oh, scratch that. I think that's the unique. Is my brain not working properly? Yeah, I was wrong both times. When it said Pyratator, I don't know why, but I thought of Pyroraptor. And then after saying it out loud, I thought it was the Magnapyrator. So I was wrong both times. But yeah, it's the new raid boss is this guy. He leads two Magnapyrator, and he is a hybrid from Pyroraptor and Irritator. Now, why he's getting a raid boss, I'm not sure. I would imagine they're probably going to make him, like, have a new hybrid, or Magnapyrator might get a buff. I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine that they aren't doing this for nothing. But then again, it's Ludia, so who knows, maybe they are. Maybe they're just like, screw it, we haven't had a new raid boss, let's just add him in. But anyways, I don't want to drag too much on this guy, because nothing really changed for him, and nothing is changing for him in this newest update. They're just adding him in as a raid boss for whatever reason. If you have a good feeling about it, go for the raid boss. If not, right now it's not affecting you at all. So, the new creature rotations, it's just elaborating when the newest creature is going to be available on the map and in the store when the update drops, and its name is Beelzebufo, and I'll get into that in a second. And then the creature updates and bug fixes I'll get into at the very end because they are not very significant, unfortunately. The creature updates this time around have been very lackluster, and I say that in a very disheartening tone because it was not a good update for creature updates. Now, not to say that they nerfed anyone, but they just buffed people that just shouldn't have really been the main focus this time around, I would argue. But again, we'll get into that in a second. For right now, we're getting to the new creature. And yes, it's a frog. It is labeled as a cunning tank debuffer. It's commonly called the devil frog. The Beelzebufo lived in Madagascar in the Cretaceous period with a large and strong jaw. Beelzebufo, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, may have been preyed upon infant dinosaurs. Oh, so it just comes right out of the woodwork in the summary saying it was preyed upon by a lot of infant dinosaurs. Alright, well, I didn't say a lot, but I would imagine to be a lot in that area. But it does have a very interesting move pool. It's got Cunning Strike, which we're used to, but then it has Feast and Afflicting Strike. Now, before you go all up in arms like, oh great, it's a stereotypical flock that debuffs people's attack and heals itself through rally because it's a flock creature. Yada yada yada. Before you do any of that, this Afflicting Strike is not going to inflict distraction. Instead, it's going to do something completely different now. Now, some of you who wasn't thinking that would be wondering, what does this weird bluish shield icon mean? Why is it like that? Well, if we go down here and go into this new affliction mechanic, we find out it gets rid of all resistances by 15%. Yeah, it's kind of crazy if what it's describing is exactly what I'm thinking it is. And let me tell you, what I think it's describing is literally all of your base resistances are now going to be in the label of statuses. Meaning, you can possibly start decreasing opponents and increasing yourself's resistances. Now, before I get too deep into the sauce, I just want to say this move is the only one affecting resistances at the moment. So this frog is the only one that can do this from what I'm aware of. And yes, I have done a quick skim through of the update notes for this one. So nobody else is getting this move unless they want to surprise attack us with some goofy nonsense. But yes, the frog is the only one that has this Afflicting Strike from what I'm aware of. It does strike damage, and it gets rid of, or no, doesn't get rid of, it reduces all resistances by 15%. Now don't get me wrong, that's kind of nuts, because for a long while, since the resistance update, I usually call it the resistance update because I want to say that was the biggest change that they introduced in that one update. But ever since then, resistances have been a key factor in battling, whether it be like what you use, how you use it, how you can wage what move you want to do, or if you want to swap out to another creature. Resistances had held a really good standard to that. Like if you know somebody's gonna, or you think somebody's gonna swap out into a ref, and you find out your guy's resistant to distraction by a degree, you're probably like, oh, I'm fine. Take the distraction, probably kill the ref or whatever, what have you. But yeah, resistances have been a huge thing into the game since resistances have been introduced. And I'm not talking about the whole weird immunity thing that they had before the resistance update, because that was a little ridiculous. And for some of you that don't remember, Proceratosaurus, or no, his hybrid, the epic one, that guy was kind of nuts when there was only 3 creatures with immunity. It was kind of wild. Anyways, again, I'm getting lost in the fucking sauce. Jesus. No. So, from what it seems like, the frogs are the only ones that's going to have this strike. And it just gets me excited to see what they're going to be doing with this whole ordeal. Because it seems like resistances are going to be some kind of status to a degree. So, not saying it's good or bad, but I'm excited to see what they're going to be doing with it. Definitely leave your comments below to see how you feel about this Afflicting Strike or just the status behind it. It afflicting all resistances. I really want to see everyone's take on that, because honestly, I'm excited. It leaves more room for strategy for me personally. Like, that's how I think. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just delusional and I'm excited for any little thing that adds to the game. Either way, we're going to damage ranges now, which is definitely a little weird because for those of you who have stuck with the game since it started, or maybe a little bit after that, you'll know that the damage ranges were always strike is times 1, impact is times 1.5, and rampages was always times 2. Now that was the base calculation all the time, and we know that for a fact because before they started writing down how much the damage was dealt with the move, with the creature, they would say, instead of the damage, it would say times 1. So you would have in the summary, it would be like defense shattering strike, because there wasn't even any like fierce cunning or resistance at the moment. It was just, it was fierce, or no, defense shattering impact, and it would be like, goes through armor, gets rid of shields, and then does times 1 damage. So pretty much what that would equate to would be your strike time, like your base damage multiplied by 1 equals however much damage, or equals to the damage you deal to the enemy. And that's how it always was for the longest time. And there was a point where everyone was just like, you know, in their heads trying to do math and make sure you're killing the opponent. Like, you're doing enough damage on them, and then you can knock him out before the opponent even thinks about swapping out the next turn, or something to that degree. And some may argue, well, you could always just hold the button to see if it kills the guy. Well, you see, I was younger, and instead of thinking the easier way, I decided to calculate it instead. Not saying that's the wrong thing to do, or it's the right thing to do. I was just saying I wasn't thinking when I was younger. But anyways, they completely got rid of that meaning. And now I think most of you understand that, because ever since they implemented the what are they called? The Atrociraptors. Ever since they introduced the Atrociraptors, and ever since they introduced the Scorpions, strikes and moves higher than rampages have been coming out. And I mean, even a little bit before then, they came out with Devastation, but that was never really like a damage range breaker. It was just, oh, this move is a more powerful version than a rampage, pretty much. But ever since they introduced the Atrociraptors and the Scorpions, it kind of like muddied the whole damage ranges, and it would start to like leave people with like, oh, well, would this move actually be considered a strike or a rampage? And even Tyranometrodon's rampage, called Decimating Hunger, was debated, like whether it would be considered a rampage or a devastation. Well, they have fixed all of that line of questioning pretty much with this. They introduced Feast, which is considered an impact, but it does 1.75 times damage. And it does a rally heal, and that's just all the time. So it has a delay of 1, cooldown of 2. Let's say he has 2 out of the 3 frogs. If you have Feast, you can still rally heal, but it seems like just a basic impact that does slightly more damage and does a rally heal. It does nothing else. It doesn't decrease the opponent's attack, or doesn't make him vulnerable. It doesn't go through anything. It doesn't cleanse them of anything. So, like, if they don't have any resistances in distraction or reduced damage, whatever you want to call it, and somebody hits you with like what is it? An instant distraction, I think they still call it. When they hit you with that, you're going to be doing no damage, but at least you can heal. But yes, these are the new damage values now. So strikes are going to be between times 1 to 1.49 times. I don't know why I said it like that, but There you go, 1.49 times. Impacts are 1.5 to 1.99 times. Rampages are 2 times to 2.49 times. Decimation is 2.5 times to 2.99 times. And then anything that is 3 times or higher is considered a devastation. So, yeah, it sounds like because they just want more time or more room to fiddle around with things and not have it mislabeled or anything. I guess they made a solid chart for it, and honestly, I'm all for that because that eliminates confusion for the most part, and it gives them room to play. So devastation is not a rampage, or decimation is not rampage or a devastation. Is its own category. So that's just great. New abilities. We already went over Feast. We already went over Afflicting Strike. And now Dual Claw gives you a 50% chance to dodge 66% of direct damage for 4 attacks, meaning 2 turns. I'll actually get into that in a second. Just give me 1 second. Target opponent with the most positive effects removes dodge. So you gain dodge and it removes dodge. And it does 0.75 times damage twice. Okay, so before I completely break this down, I want to elaborate on something. So when a move says 4 attacks or 2 turns, it doesn't mean like 4 attacks equals those 2 turns. I've been very confused on that for a second, but I feel like elaborating on it now because I'm sure there will be a lot of people thinking the same thing, or maybe there aren't and I'm just a little bit slow in the head, but still I want to elaborate on it and really, really quickly. So when it says 4 attacks, 2 turns, it's saying either it's going to last for 2 or 4 attacks. So if they do 4 attacks, if they do 4 attacks on you, your dodge is gone. Or they can wait out the 2 turns and then your dodge is gone. Like, it's still really confusing. So, let's say the opponent is distracted and it says the length is 2 turns. They're distracted for 2 turns unless they do something about it. Now, for some reason, Ludia added like some extra stuff to the mix. Now, maybe it was always there. Maybe they added it a little while ago. I can't remember completely, but I started to notice that it's like, for 4 attacks or 2 turns, or 2 attacks, 2 turns. So pretty much, if you are distracted and it has the 2 turns or 4 attacks, if you attacked 4 times in that 1 turn, the distraction would be gone. I'm not saying there's a creature that can attack 4 turns, but I'm saying, for the sake of this example, if you attacked 4 times in 1 turn, the distraction would be gone. It's like another like limiter, I guess. It's another thing that you have to do to get rid of it. So if you can't get rid of it on your own, and you want to get rid of it early, you attack 4 times and you get rid of it. Essentially. Still a little confusing, but I hoped my explanation at least help out some people, if not everyone that was confused on that. Because I don't know why it's hard for me to explain it, but I know somebody should at least explain it for those of you who are unsure, because I was not sure for a while. Anyways, getting back to Dual Claw, it gives you dodge, 50% chance for 66 direct damage. Instead of removing, attack buffs and decreasing attacks, it removes dodge instead. I would not imagine it gets rid of cloak, because usually if something gets rid of cloak, it would elaborate on that. So right here would be like remove dodge and cloak, but it doesn't say that. So I'm assuming it's only removing dodge. But it does less than a strike, but it does it twice. I don't know why it does less than a strike. Not gonna lie, it confused me for a while. It still kind of confuses me, especially for the only creature they elaborate having it on. Like, it's not like a unique is getting this as a replacement strike. Not saying it would be better than what they have already, anyways, but like, I don't know. It's just it's confusing. I don't know. But yeah, that move is there now. It exists. Um, Genetic enhancements. This is the biggest thing that I'm sure everyone is interested in. So, really quickly, genetic enhancements, it looks like only are accessible to unique creatures at level 30. They say it right here. Track on any unique creature at level 30. They never say any other rarity, so I'm assuming this is a unique exclusive. But pretty much, so I don't have to read the entire thing again. Pretty much what you're doing is you're going to be taking your purebred, what looks like purebred, DNA that's common through Epic, because they never elaborate whether it's hybrid DNA or not. I mean, I would love it if it was hybrid DNA too, but I doubt that they're going to be doing that. Anyways, yeah, any creature that is level 25 or higher that is between common through common to legendary. Excuse me, it's right here. Okay, reach level 25 with any common to legendary to start fusing its DNA into catalysts. Now, these catalysts you can use to unlock abilities such as reactive abilities, which are a new type of passive, and they trigger automatic effects when specific conditions are met. And it also looks like you can have a passive ability, like a counter of some sort, or maybe a swap-in. I would imagine swap-in would be in the same territory as that. Or it looks like you can boost your stats too, because right here it says enhancements, and it has the can I open this? Okay, well that doesn't help. It says right here as like a little unlock icon, and its arrows are pointing towards a plus 10% HP. So, oh yeah, right here, it elaborates. Use your genetic enhancements track to gain upgrades for your creatures, including stat increases and reactive abilities. Wow, I don't know how I just looked over past that and it was in the same column that I highlighted of passive. Holy moly. Anyways, so long story short, you take epic through legendary creatures, what looks like purebred only, might be hybrid, might not. Make them catalysts, and then use catalysts to make uniques stronger. But uniques must be level 30. Is essentially the whole ordeal. Now, when it comes to the resources needing to use, I see that 350,000 coin, like, needed for what looks like, I can't tell whether above there either looks like a 5 or a 3, but either way, that is way too much. Personally, I feel like that is way too much. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have level 30s and you're going on the arena and you're not, like, you know, trying to level up any other creatures and you're content with your team, I'm sure 350 coins wouldn't be too difficult for you to muster up if you're a free-to-play. But if you are a free-to-play and you're constantly trying to, like, get into the meta, 350 coins for a unique you just got to level 30 seems a little bit ridiculous. Like, wow. And it looks like you need an absurd amount of catalysts as well. And you need a lot more of that one creature's DNA, because it says right under the coins and right next to the catalyst, it needs 500 DNA. Now, I'm assuming that's for the creature that you're enhancing, but they never elaborate on it. They never elaborate, like, how much of a resource you need for, like, maybe it's stage 1 through 5 or whatever. They never elaborate. So, I'm basing all of my resource, my resource data off of this one screenshot, and it looks atrocious. Now, don't get me wrong, I am all for this genetic enhancement, but it seems like it's only for players that have an abundance of resources that don't know what to do with them. Now, don't get me wrong, that's all well and good. I'm glad that we are using creatures that we don't use anymore. We're using the passive DNA that we get through incubators, and maybe we're darting them just cause we're bored and we feel like darting a creature, but we're not using them. Like, using them in this way is fantastic. I love it. But the fact that we need to do it so much, and get so many coins, and just get more DNA for that one thing we're genetically enhancing in the first place, like, it seems ridiculous. Like, don't get me wrong, I know this is probably, like, an extremely late game. This is for people who are, like, bored as fuck, that don't know what to do, and they want to keep progressing to some degree. This is probably for them, but I'm just nervous that these people are going to be buffing the absolute crap out of their creatures, and then they're going to start smurfing. And I don't need anyone in the comments telling me that smurfing is either not as bad as it used to be, or it's not as prevalent anymore, or nobody thinks about smurfing as much anymore. Because let me tell you, I have a alternate account. So I have my main one, which I'm like right above the library, or it's like, I forget, it's like the warehouse. It's in between Nublar Shores and the library, whatever. I think it's called warehouse. I could be wrong, but that's where my main one's at. And then I have my secondary one, which I made. And let me tell you, the amount of Smurfs that I found in my secondary one is absurd. Absolutely absurd. Like, I would be going in there, like, I just got a Dialachyrus after, like, months of grinding, because I don't spend any money in my second one. In my first one, I spend money. I don't care. I love this game. I support it as much as I can. I'm not saying that I buy every $100 pack that I see. That's just ridiculous, but I do spend money on my primary one, but on my secondary one, I don't. And I just got my Dialachyrus after tons and tons and tons and tons of time grinding, and I am in, like, I'm in the arena just below library. I think it's called Lockwood Estate. Yeah, but yeah, I keep, like, getting into there, and as I get there, I have, like, a level 21, 22 uniques. Like, I have the dog, I have Dialachyrus, I have Tetsacorbanus, and they're all boosted fairly decently, but I go into the estate, and I see people with, like, level 30s, max boosted, like, legendary hybrids. And some of them are unique, no, most of them are unique hybrids, actually. Like, and I'm like, what the, this isn't even library. Why are there all of these, like, extremely higher tier max boosted creatures in the estate? This isn't even the library. Library is infested with tons of apexes. Now, don't get me wrong, that's not bad, but like there's clearly some smurfing going on. It's ridiculous. And I didn't mean to go on this tangent, but, like, that's just how I feel about this genetic enhancements. I'm afraid that people that are, like, really high in the arena, that only care about getting more and more incubators through combat, and are tired of losing and just want to smurf so they get that power fantasy going. Like, all these other people, I'm just afraid that they're going to be taking advantage of this and then making newer, weaker players, they're going to be taking advantage of their inability to do this kind of stuff, and they're just going to ruin the combat system for it. And that's what I'm afraid of. So I don't know. I don't know. This is a. I see what they're going with, and I encourage it. But until they make a fix for smurfing, like a solid one, I feel like this may only lead to losing some of the early player base that they're just now getting because all of these smurfing players are taking advantage of the newer, weaker players. Like, it was just absurd. And there was at one point in my newer profile, I say newer because it's not as old as my primary one. There came in times where my newer one came in contact with a full maxed out team of Apexes. So yeah, I don't know. Smurfing does exist still. And I do feel like they have some ways of fixing it. Like, maybe you can only lose a certain amount of trophies for so long. Or maybe you can lose as many trophies as you want, but you're stuck at, like, the very beginning of the one arena that you're in. I don't know. I feel like there are a couple fixes, but they're just not bothering to do it. And this genetic enhancements with all of its resource, like the resources needed to actually do it, I feel like could spell more smurfing, but that just remains to be seen. And I didn't mean to go on a rant for this long. I really wanted this to be a quick video, but I really wanted to get that out there and make sure people fully understood where I was coming from with this. Because, again, this seems like a really good idea and a really good thing to spice things up for battling and stuff with your creatures, and could make some creatures that they neglect more viable. But I'm just afraid that the higher, like the more powerful community, the ones that are so obsessed with, getting the power fantasy, or just wanting more and more incubators, or just, are sick and tired of losing altogether and just go to lower tiers to bully because they're like, screw it, if I can't have a good time, you can't have a good time either. All of those guys, and that can afford it, I'm afraid are going to go down to the tiers and just fucking have fun that way, and all the newer player base is like, well, screw this, I'm not going to deal with this, I'm leaving. That's my biggest fear. I know it sounds a little ridiculous, but from what I've seen in the lower tiers, it's a bit goofy. Like, for way lack of better terms, it's a bit goofy. But yeah, that's genetic enhancing. Definitely a unique and could be fun mechanic. But again, we'll have to wait until they come out with the update, which is, again, hopefully going to be tomorrow when this video is released. I think I said that before. I don't remember if I did, but I'm saying it again now, if I did. Anyways, yes, it should be coming out tomorrow or this coming Tuesday. If you're watching it from the past, I don't know. Either way, tomorrow, it should be tomorrow. But yeah, so new raid boss we already elaborated on. The new creature rotations we already elaborated on. The creature updates. Now I want to make this segment short. This is probably going to be the shortest part. Oviraptor is going to be the only one getting dual claw this update, from what they elaborated, and they're removing sidestep for it. I don't know why. It seems, I don't know. It doesn't seem optimal to me personally. And the fact that he's the only one getting it makes me wonder why they're even introducing the move. I don't know. Maybe, like, this, honestly, the Oviraptor change was the one that confused me the most. Like, let me see here. Because it's Gen 1. It's the rare one. So he has Devious Strike, Cunning Rampage, and they're going to remove Sidestep for Dual Claw. And I don't understand why. Like, he has immunity to distraction and crit reduction, that's it. And I mean, I guess that helps him fight off Phlox, but it still is very confusing why they're giving it to him. Like, why dual claw? I don't get it. Give him like dispersed devious strike or something. Give him something that like Pyrorix's has. I don't know. It's just confusing. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. I just don't understand. Very confusing change, and at the same time, I don't really think this creature needed that to become better. I feel like if he had a little more resistances, it would just make him better, but that's just me. I don't know. They changed Arctops, so his distraction is no longer distraction, it's Cunning Strike instead. So pretty much just they're changing distraction to a better distraction. Um, they gave him a health buff. They gave him more resistances, so immune to distraction and resistant to speed decrease. He, instead of resilient strike, it's group resilient strike, and taunting vulnerability becomes brace, which cool. Just making people vulnerable. Instead, he's just buffing his defense. I don't know. Cool, I guess. Okay. Don't get me wrong. Sinosaurus sounds like it's gonna be good for epic raids, but at the same time, epic raids don't have any minions. So like the group stuff, like the brace and everything, I don't know. Group resilient strike sounds like it's just a combat Phlox for PvP, and the brace sounds like it's for an extra shielder and epic, the epic raids. Because I highly doubt you'll be using this guy in legendary raids. Moras Intrepidus gets a damage buff by 100, which is good for tournaments and stuff. And they even say it right here, slightly underperforming in epic tournaments, which is true. It wasn't that good. Hopefully this little damage buff will give it the push that it needs for tournaments. The Allosaurus Gen 2 and Alloraptor has gotten their moveset changed, and I don't know how to feel about it personally. So, first up, Allosaurus Gen 2. The only thing they've changed was from taking a rending takedown to instant rend, which is pretty good, but I personally don't know how to feel about it because I use Allosaurus Gen 2 in a lot of epic raids because the rending takedown with the damage boost is so freaking good and not enough people give it credit. Because I see a lot of people just rolling with T-Rex, and I'm like, hey, that's good, but what would be better is if you buffed my attack and I could take a lot more health down than you ever will, because rending takes down based on how much HP you have. So, like, it's not ideal for PvP, especially if you had a normal rampage, it would possibly insta-kill them, depending on the circumstances. But I'm telling you, rending takedown was so good in raids. And now it's becoming instant rend, which isn't bad. I feel a little iffy on it only because unless there's an irritator buffing you that uses its priority that could give you the damage buff before you attack, I don't really see it being ideal for raids. But for PvP, this seems really good. So for those of you using Allosaurus Gen 2 for PvP, you're going to have a fun time, especially since Allosaurus has a couple resistances on its side. So it might just be a better T-Rex, which kind of sucks, personally, because I have been in the group where I feel like they should have buffed all of the T-Rexes, like T-Rex Gen 1 and Gen 2. Especially Gen 1. Gen 1 should have some kind of devouring move, but they completely overlooked them for some other creatures, and then the Rexy line. It's ridiculous. But anyways, that's my quick hot take on the whole T-Rex and then Allosaurus Gen 2. Regardless, Allosaurus Gen 2 getting instant rend. Good for PvP. For raids, it's dependable, I guess. It's depending on the circumstance whether it's good or not. Anyways, Alloraptor. This guy got an amazing buff, but it also wasn't amazing. And they changed his moveset again. And I do not feel like it is as good as it should be, personally. Now, is it bad? No. he can use his strike now persistently, but instead of reducing the opponent's damage, it just... Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I did, okay, I did read that right. Yeah, so they're taking down Rending Takedown, and they're replacing it with Cunning Ferocious Strike, but you may be asking, he already had Cunning Ferocious Strike. Why are they adding in another Cunning Ferocious Strike? Well, you see, it even says here that feedback on Aloraptor's base attack encouraged us to consider this ability. With its adjusted kit, Allosaurus's gameplay stays similar, but its basic attack can be of constant use. And instead of, just giving Alloraptor back his normal Cunning Strike, they thought it would be so extremely clever to give him a Rending Strike. So, like, a strike you constantly use that would go through shield and armor, which is pretty good, but only does 0.2 of the opponent's max HP, and getting rid of the Rampage equivalent that takes away 0.6 of the opponent's max HP, replacing that with Cunning Ferocious Strike. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, okay, for those of you who are not aware, I love Aloraptor, and I was so excited when they buffed him, because that would make the legendary super good, extremely good, stupidly good. But they just keep messing up the strike situation. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, are you serious? Like, wow, it just boggles my mind sometimes. So, what I would say is keep Rending Takedown. Keep the Distracting Rampage. Keep the Cleansing Rampage. But make his strike a normal Cunning Strike. That's it! That's all you have to do! That would leave him the opportunity to always distract Fierce types when he needs to. Maybe he used his Distracting Rampage, but hey, if he has the strike, he can always use Cunning Strike and maybe outlive one last attack so he can get one good hit in before he dies. But instead, they're like, oh yeah, we'll just completely get rid of that, Cunning mechanic that is so reliable for Cunnings. We'll make it like a thing, like a cooldown, and then you can always, get rid of people's HP with... Hey guys, quick editor's note here. I was talking about cooldowns with Cunning stuff and Rending. What I was pretty much trying to say is his current build, his current kit, has a cooldown on his strike, and the new strike that he has that's coming out in this new update is Rending, and both of those seem pretty obsolete. Like, the Rending as a strike, as a Cunning, is not very good because you can't really distract any Fierce types or anything like that, and with the strike he has right now, he can't use it as often as he should be able to, only because it buffs him. Personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I would much rather him just have a normal Cunning Strike and be able to use it whenever is necessary, instead of, only using it once just because he buffs himself. It seems kind of redundant, and yeah, I was not a huge fan. I was just getting a little too lost in the sauce, but I'll let you finish off with my rant if you want. If you don't want to, I did set a timestamp, so just if you need to double check when this ends, just check the timestamp when the rant started. Anyways, yeah, back to your regularly scheduled rant. Rending, like, I know the way I describe that is very weird, but I'm just very heated right now because I love Aloraptor. I love its design. I love its new skin, the red one, the Wrath skin. It looks phenomenal, and they want to keep backhanding Aloraptor as much as possible. Like, they really want him to be good so people use him and people feel like the skin wasn't a waste of money. I know, and like, because I see a lot of people liking Aloraptor too, but they don't want him too good to where he can just outperform like even some of the uniques. Because I'm telling you, if they just properly changed him, he could probably like climb up higher tiers than some uniques. Like, it's crazy. His potential is nuts, but they just don't let him take his potential and use it to his maximum. Like, I'm telling you right now, if they changed his strike, okay, let's say he keeps his kit the way it is right now, not this update, but before this update, how it is right now. If they just replaced Cunning Ferocious Strike with Tough Group Cunning Strike, okay? That's it. That's all they changed. He would be unfathomably good. Like, it would be ridiculous how good he would be. Even when he's not immune to distraction, he would still be crazily good. Like, I'm telling you, I think Aloraptor would be on most people's team if they just replaced the strike he has now with Tough Group Cunning Strike. I'm telling you, he would be so good. He would be on so many people's team because he could cleanse on Rampage, he would distract on Rampage, he would go through shields and armor, and taking down people's health depending on how much health they have left, or no, depending on the health that they have maximum, excuse me. And then he would have his reliable strike that not only gets rid of crit chance, but it also decreases damage, and it hits a group. So not only could it be decent in raids, maybe, I doubt it, but maybe, but he could also hit flocks. Like, as long as it's not the Compass Ignathus Gen 2 or any of its hybrids, if it's not any of those, he would be all good hitting those flocks with that strike. But I'm telling you, I'm going on a rant about something completely different, but I'm telling you, Aloraptor has so much potential, and they're just not giving it to him. And I know there are going to be some people saying, oh, well, running attack isn't that good, or isn't that bad, excuse me. And to my argument, we have so many higher tier creatures that have rend resistance. Like, it's stupid. Like seriously, yeah, have fun with that rending attack that deals no damage to most of the higher tier creatures. I don't know. I'm gonna get another rebuttal. Oh, well, he's a legendary. He's not supposed to be high up on the tier list. Okay, well then say that to Rexy. Okay? Say that to Panthera Blythe, the marsupial lion looking guy. He was on the highest ranking player's team for a good 2 weeks when he was first introduced. Rexy is still used in the higher tiers. Like, don't give me that, oh, rarity depends on how good you are or whatever. It's not! It's not. Hast Maximus is ass and he's Apex. Like, I would rather use Spinal Constrictor than Hast Maximus. And that's saying a lot. He's an Apex. I have to do raids to get Hast Maximus, and he is butt. Like, I'm getting heated. I'm arguing with myself, and I'm getting heated. But I'm telling you right now, there are going to be some brain-dead people saying that he's not that bad, and he shouldn't be as good as other people. When I'm telling you right now, even if you did the change that I said, there is no guarantee he is going to be as good as the highest tiers in the game. But I'm telling you, he would still be way better and way more fun to use if you made the change that I said. You would see a lot more activity of Aloraptor. You would see him more used in tournaments. You would see him more used in arenas, like lower tier arenas. Like, you would just overall see more activity with Aloraptor if you took my change. I guarantee it. Hell, I would probably start using Aloraptor on my team. on my main team. And again, that's in Ret Warehouse. And that's just because I love Aloraptor. But anyways, off my tangent, I'll have to make like some chapters or something like in the description to so then people can skip through because these rants are getting too ridiculous. I did not want to make it this long, but there's just things that I need to get out to the community so then they at least start thinking. And maybe Ludia is watching and maybe they'll be like, oh, that seems like an interesting take. Maybe we'll consider it or something. I don't know. Either way, that was my rant for Aloraptor. And now, the only unique that was changed was Spinoconstrictor. And the only thing they changed was his strike. So instead of distraction, it becomes cunning strike. Oh my god. Why? Why is this the only unique creature change? I don't get it. Like, I'm probably one of the few people that say Mono Rhino needs a buff. Because you never see him anymore. But like, I don't know. I just got off a rant on Aloraptor abruptly, and now the heat is going everywhere. Like, I'm starting to rage on other creatures that aren't even mentioned in the update. Like, oh man. But no, I'm very disappointed in this update for the creature changes. I feel like they could have been a lot better in terms of like more creatures they could have updated and how they updated them and all that fun stuff. But they just this creature update list on this update is so underwhelming to me, and I just like I'm sure there's gonna be that one Spinoconstrictor fan going like, yes! Finally, I can distract them and get rid of their crit chance. Thank you. Oh my god. I can get rid of their damage buffs. but over here, I'm like, where's my Mono Rhino buff? Where's his stunning obstruction? But a Mono Rhino change is probably like gonna be its own fucking video. I could probably rant about that for way too long. Oh, okay. But yeah, bug fixes. Pretty much most of the stuff that people have been noticing, like summary moves of summary. Wow, if I can speak. Summary of moves. Like right here, perfect example. Dialect counter passive should now properly increase the creature's speed by 20%. Originally, it said in the description it was 25%. I think I elaborated on that last update analysis video. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I cut that out. But I do remember mentioning it. But yeah, description of for fortifying group impact and healing bellow has been modified to better reflect their behavior. So most moves were fixed. Whether it's their description, so that they tell everything about the move, like what it does and stuff, or maybe the move did something that they forgot to elaborate in the description, or maybe it did something that it wasn't supposed to do in general. They fixed. They fixed the visual issue with shining effect during reward sequence. I don't entirely know what that means. Is it like the little gray box in the background that appears sometimes whenever you open an incubator? I don't know. Game should not freeze anymore when attempting to fuse two creatures. That has happened to me a couple times. I'm glad they fixed that. Fixed an issue in which some creatures would not show their fainting animation. I don't think I encountered that one. Although Phlox, their animations are all sorts of messed up. And fixed. No, here, the creature animation should now loop properly during a drone session. Oh yeah, I have noticed that too. There was a couple times where it would like stand still and would still move. So goofy. But no, the flock animations again, I really think they're messed up, and I think they really do have to fix them. But I'm telling you, some of the glitches that I found with the flock animations, like I would be down to one Compassoraptor, and after I used my like the shield, like the fierce move, Oh man, I forgot what it's called, but it does a rally heal when you have one left. But whenever I do the rally heal, like the second Raptor kind of like has like its like the standing still model. Like it's not moving or anything, but it's just like if it was like an action figure, it like pops up laying down, like glitching into the floor, and then it pops back up after the heal animation. Like, I hope I capture it at some point. Like maybe I'll do like a quick recording session or something of me um, battling with it or something. I don't know. But if any of you know what I'm talking about, it is so goofy. Like, don't get me wrong, there are some bugs that I feel don't break the game that just add to the goofiness of it, and I love it, but I don't know. There are others that need to be fixed, but I'm saying the one that I'm describing, it doesn't necessarily need to be fixed, but it's more of just pointing out they probably need to more polish up the flock animations. uh, Panthera, Blythes, Swift, Wounding Swap, in should now bypass dodge as intended. Oh, it didn't? Oh, it didn't! I remember that. I remember being disappointed when it didn't. Okay. Red's Berserk Resilient Rampage should now properly remove dodge, increase buff on the opponent. What? Oh, remove dodge. Oh, remove damage increase buff. Oh, jeez. Making it vulnerable. Okay. But yeah, pretty much it's just like they just fixed the descriptions of moves and how moves are used. So nothing too noteworthy, but I'm sure it'll help some people, depending on what if you use the creatures that are fixed or not. Either way, that's the newest update. I am so sorry about my rants. I'm gonna try to like have people be able to skip through it without missing anything. Either way, so sorry about the rants and the rambles and mispronunciation of words and whatever else. I don't mean to make it too confusing. I just wanted to bring this up to everyone's attention, get my take on it. And yeah, I really hope that this was good enough for people to understand and not make fun of me on. Just kidding. You can make fun of me whether you like it to or not. I don't care. Either way, I just want to get this out there. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this content, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube stuff. I haven't said that in like any of my videos, so I figured I'd mention it now. Yeah, thank you so much for staying while you did, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.